name is Tanisha Jaiswal and welcome back to my channel Audible NCRT. So today you will study about bryophytes and pteridophytes in this video. So listen carefully till end. Bryophytes. Bryophytes include the various mosses and liverots that are found commonly growing in moist shaded areas in the hills. Bryophytes are also called amphibians of the plant kingdom because these plants can live in soil but are dependent on water for sexual reproduction. They usually occur in damp, humid, and shaded localities. They play an important role in plant succession on bare rocks or soil. The plant body of bryophyte is more differentiated than that of algae. It is thallus-like and prostrate or erect and attached to the substratum by unicellular or multicellular rhizoids. They lack true roots, stems, or leaves. They may possess root-like, leaf-like, or stem-like structures. The main plant body of the bryophyte is haploid. It produces gametes, hence is called a gametophyte. The 6 organs in bryophytes are multicellular. The male sex organ is called antheridium. They produce biflagellate antherozoids. The female sex organ called archegonium is flag-shaped and produces a single egg. The antherozoids are released into water where they come in contact with archegonium. An antherozoid fuses with the egg to produce the zygote. Zygote do not undergo reduction division immediately. They produce a multicellular body called a sporophyte. This sporophyte is not free-living but attached to the photosynthetic gametophyte and derives nourishment from it. Some cells of this sporophyte undergo reduction division, meiosis, to produce haploid spores. These spores germinate to produce gametophytes. Bryophytes in general are of little economic importance, but some mosses provide food for herbaceous mammals, birds, and other animals. Species of sphagnum, a moss, provide peat that have long been used as fuel and as packing material for transshipment of living material because of their capacity to hold water. Mosses, along with lichens, are the first organism to colonize rocks and hence are of great ecological importance. They decompose rocks, making the substratum suitable for the growth of higher plants. Since mosses form dense mats on the soil, they reduce the impact of falling rain and prevent soil erosion. The bryophytes are divided into liverots and mosses. First, liverots. The liverots grow usually in moist, shady habitats such as banks of streams, marshy ground, damp soil, bark of trees, and deep in the woods. The plant body of a liverot is thalloid, example Marchantia. The thallus is dorsiventral and closely appressed to the substrate. The leafy members have tiny leaf-like appendages in 2 rows on a stem-like structure. Asexual reproduction in liverots takes place by fragmentation of thalli or by the formation of specialized structure called gamete, singular gamma. It is very important. Gamete are green, multicellular, asexual buds which develop in small receptacles called gamma cups located on the thalli. The gamma become detached from the parent body and germinate to form new individuals. During sexual reproduction, male and female sex organs are produced either on the same or on different thalli. The sporophyte is differentiated into a foot, seta, and capsule. After meiosis, spores are produced within the capsule. These spores germinate to form free-living gametophytes. This figure represents a liverot Marchantia in which figure A represent female thallus with archegoniophore gamma cup and rhizoid, and figure B represent male thallus with anthridiophore gamma cup and rhizoids. Second, mosses. The predominant stage of the life cycle of a moss is the gametophyte, which consists of two stages. The first stage is the protonema stage, which develops directly from a spore. It is a creeping green, branched, and frequently filamentous stage. The second stage is the leafy stage, which develops from the secondary protonema as a lateral bud. They consist of upright, slender axes bearing spirally arranged leaves. They are attached to the soil through multicellular and branch rhizoids. This stage bears the sex organs. Vegetative reproduction in mosses is by fragmentation and budding in the secondary protonema. In sexual reproduction, the sex organs antheridia and archegonia are produced at the apex of the leafy shoots. After fertilization, the zygote develops into a sporophyte consisting of a foot, seta, and capsule. The sporophyte in mosses is more elaborate than that in liverworts. The capsule contains spores. Spores are formed after meiosis. The mosses have an elaborate mechanism of spore dispersal. Common examples of mosses are first funaria, second polytrichum, third sphagnum. These figure represents mosses. Figure C represents funaria with sporophyte consists of capsule, seta, and gametophyte consists of leaves, main axis, and rhizoids. Figure D represents a sphagnum gametophyte with entheridial branch and archegonial branch. Now let's start pteridophyte. The pteridophytes include horsetails and ferns. Pteridophytes are used for medicinal purposes and as soil binders. They are also frequently grown as ornamentals. Evolutionary, they are the first terrestrial plants to possess vascular tissues, xylem and phloem. You shall study more about this tissue in chapter 6. The pteridophytes are found in cool, damp, shaded places, though some may flourish well in sandy soil conditions. You may recall that in bryophytes, the dominant phase in the life cycle is the gametophytic plant body. However, in pteridophytes, the main plant body is a sporophyte, which is differentiated into true root, stem, and leaves. These organ possesses well differentiated vascular tissues. The leaves in Pteridophyta are small microphyls as in Selaginella or large macrophyls as in ferns. The sporophytes bear sporangia that are subtended by leaf-like appendages called sporophylls. In some cases, sporophylls may form distinct compact structures called strobili or cones. Example in Selaginella and Equisetum. The sporangia produce spores by meiosis in spore mother cells. The spores germinate to give rise to inconspicuous, small but multicellular, free-living, mostly photosynthetic thalloid gametophytes called prothallus. These gametophytes require cool, damp, shady places to grow. Because of this specific restricted requirement and the need for water for fertilization, the spread of living pteridophytes is limited and restricted to narrow geographical regions. This gametophyte bear male and female sex organs called antheridia and archegonia, respectively. Water is required for transfer of antherozoids. The male gametes released from the antheridia to the mouth of archegonium. Fusion of male gamete with the egg present in the archegonium result in the formation of zygote. Zygote thereafter produces a multicellular, well-differentiated sporophyte, which is the dominant phase of the pteridophytes. In majority of the pteridophytes, all the spores are of similar kinds. Such plants are called homosporous. Genera like Selaginella and Salvinia, which produce two kinds of spores, macro large and micro small spores, are known as heterosporous. The megaspores and microspores germinate and give rise to female and male gametophytes respectively. The female gametophytes in this plant are retained on the parent sporophytes for variable periods. The development of the zygotes into young embryos take place within the female gametophytes. This event is a precursor to the seed habit, considered as an important step in evolution. The last paragraph is very important, so please listen it very carefully. The pteridophytes are further classified into four classes. First, Psilopsida, Psilotum. Second, Lycopsida, Selaginella, Lycopodium. Third, Sphenopsida, Equisetum. Last, Pteropsida, Triopteris, Pteris and Adiantum. Figure A is very important and it represents Selaginella with true roots, stems and leaves. Figure B represents Equisetum with strobilus, nodes, internode, branch and rhizome. Figure C represents ferns and figure D represents Salvinia. So thank you so much guys for listening so carefully, and in next video we'll continue with gymnosperms and angiosperms. All the best.